Hey, family, I'm so excited about the conversation I'm having today with Pamela Prince-Eason. First of all, let me just say that Pam is a dear friend of mine for many years now, and I was feeling quite honored actually to be able to call her a friend out loud for the first time several years ago because I'm so enamored with Pam's background. You know, Pam has a financial background within the procurement industry, and her career was very successful, and she chose to go into an NGO and bring her leadership and skills forward. Through her leadership of WeBank, so many women business owners have been able to grow their businesses, meet new friends, and elevate their own skills. And I have to tell you, I'm one of those women. Now, when I talk with Pam today, you're probably going to hear her phone go off a few times because although she's operating from home with 4 open lines, she shut down 3 of them. The 4th one she's left open because she's got some pretty serious things going on the personal and professional level that only people with that number have access to. Irrespective of whether that phone goes off or not, I know you're going to enjoy listening to Pam, and I'm excited to get that conversation started. So join me in welcoming Pamela Prince-Eason.
Joining us right now is one of America's most successful female entrepreneurs.
Special guest speaker today, the first African-American woman
to own a billion-dollar company. Her name is
Janice Bryant Howroyd. She's the founder and CEO of
Act One is one of the largest staffing companies in the United States.
She's now ranked by Forbes as second wealthiest self-made African-American woman in America, behind only Ms. Oprah Winfrey.
She spent almost 40 years helping others find work.
Janice, great to have you on the show.
Wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Janice, welcome to the program.
Janice, what about your
Hey, Pam.
Hey, how are you, Janice? It's so great to be on the call with you.
Oh, girl, I've missed your hugs so much. I mean, you're like one of the most embracing women in business I've ever met. And having you in this conversation today is just incredible for me. Before we even jump into the stuff we said we want to talk about, which is around success and how to achieve it, girl, just tell me what you've been doing. How are you handling this quarantine?
Well, I'm handling the quarantine pretty well. You know, it's been strange for me because in my corporate role as well as my role at WeBank, I have always traveled, so much the same you have always traveled. And so I've been at home more than I have been in 35 years. I find out I actually really do like my husband, which is really great. And I'm lucky enough to be in a state that is very close to where my parents are. So I'm able to check on them, and that's a good thing. My kids are staying in touch. I love Zoom, so I'm able to talk to the family, and I'm able to talk to my friends like you.
Well, I'm sure you're using a lot of different platforms now. I've even attended some meetings, Pam, with some of our own corporate sponsors who switched up on their platforms at the last minute. So you've really got to be nimble, and we'll talk about that when we talk about success. But one of the things that you've always preached to us as members of your community, women business owners and the companies who work with us, is that success is about your total health. Are you taking care of your total health while you're quarantined? Or are you just loving up with hubby?
Well, I definitely want to find that out about you as well. I am doing well with my health. I'm doing a low carb diet. My husband is quarantined here with me, so he's making sure I stick to it. I do Pilates on a reformer, and I'm fortunate enough to have a piece of reformer equipment here. So I'm trying to do that twice a day. So I'm hoping the next time you see me, I'll look fit and healthy. How about you?
Oh, girl, you always have that glow. You inspire us so much. As for me, I'm at home here in sunny Southern California, Pam. So I do get outside because my property allows me to go outside and take nice walks. We grow citrus fruit here, so we're able to pick fruit, and it's really yielding right now. So I may be getting more exercise than I want. But I'm also paying a lot of attention to how I eat, as you are. And you said something once. You told us, I think it was with our Women of Distinction group, the subset of WeBank. Thank you for this organization, because we've been staying very close to each other, Pam. And for some of us, it's just been that lifeblood that keeps us focused on tomorrow in a real strategic way. But you said to us that it was really important to you that all of your women take care of ourselves, because we tend to lead with such giving that we often feed ourselves last, whether it's literally the food on our tables or things more elevated like our health or like taking care of that personal me time. And that meant a lot to me to hear you say that. And honestly, I thought I was pretty evolved, but it did take me back to revisit how I'm treating myself. So thank you for that. And we've had some Zoom communication with you. How are you finding that the other ladies are doing with this, Pam?
So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for being one of the women of distinction. You know, there's only 20 of you, and you are amazing women who have done so much to fight through the time, to grow your business, to deal with political issues, to deal with business issues, to cross government, to cross corporate business. And, you know, you're true role models. And so it is my distinct honor to have you as a member of that group and a tremendous leader in that group. So I find your group is doing well in that you don't look at anything as adversity. You're always saying, what is the opportunity in this? What can I do to help others? And so I enjoy my conversations with your group very much when I see that innovation and I see what you can provide to corporate America, what you provide to your employees, what you provide to your family, what you provide to your community. And so those have been some really wonderful conversations. Additionally, every second and fourth Friday, I'm doing a group call with about 150 to 200 of our WBEs, and those could be any size business. And so as we talk through that, you know, we see a myriad of challenges that are impacting people. You know, as we often talk about various sizes of businesses, there are different needs for a business that has one employee than there is that has, say, 10 to 20, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, et cetera. And so one of the things that has been very interesting to me is I, like you, I'm not only a giver, but I love to learn. And, you know, we are not, as a 501c3, allowed to be politically active. So we have a great partnership with WIP, Women Impacting Public Policy. And so I encourage a lot of involvement between our women with the WIP organization. But the work that we're doing at WeBank is really about understanding the challenges, understanding what resources and skills are needed, working together across the WBE community and the corporate community and the government community in order to really make sure that we understand what the needs are so that each one of our women-owned businesses don't have to take all that time, energy, and effort to understand it on their own. And so that kind of ties back to the health of everything, because if every single woman-owned business has to go out and do her own research about how do I survive during this time, how do I pivot during this time, if those things are occurring, then it's taking time away from their family, their friends, their community, etc. And so I like that holistic approach, and I'm really glad you brought that up. I think a lot of the people who listen to the JBH network definitely need to hear that message, and you are a tremendous role model for it.
Well, Pam, thank you so much for that. You know, actually, you said a lot that I want to kind of strip apart and let you go deeper on a couple of areas. One of them is, you know, we are about teaching people and sharing with people success. So you're one of the most successful people I know, especially as
Yes.
you know, when you ask me to define success, I say it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And there's no one who is progressively realizing worthy ideals than you and your network through WeBank. Can you just give me a few minutes to step it back and take it in reverse? What are the challenges that are facing women-owned businesses, especially right now, and how you've seen good solutioning through those over your leadership at WeBank? Most people who know you are aware that you had a corporate life, so you don't speak strictly from an NGO perspective, and your corporate life, even more so, was heavily weighted on finance and data. So if you can help our listeners by talking about some of those challenges that may be very real for them, regardless of their size, as women-owned businesses, and then how they solution to that? Because we're about addressing the challenges and, you know, bringing the answers.
Sure. So I would say my job at WeBank, though I didn't intend for it to be this, really has been an immense learning opportunity. And I say that because, as you said, I did come from a very large corporation where I worked in the procurement organization and was vice president for worldwide procurement. So I do understand those corporate needs. And that, I think, is where I learned that the supply chain needed to have some opportunity in it that was outreach to try to bring in smaller than the majority businesses that were out there. So I don't even want to call them small businesses. And so I became very interested in understanding how that supply chain could be doing an outreach and be inclusive, because I think in general, most large corporations absolutely do want to be inclusive. They want to get the best ideas. They want to include everyone, but they need to have some kind of process, practice, policy that helps them to do that outreach. So we had those at the company that I worked for, and I wanted to see it become real. I could see some of the challenges on the corporate side about the size of these businesses. Could they handle insurance requirements and all the things that you would think about? But what I didn't see so clearly until I really went from that role to my role at WeBank is the amount of nimbleness, agility, mind power, teamwork amongst your teams to pivot, to serve, to deliver on the next great idea that any corporation has, or for that matter, any other WBE has. And so, so I'm honored that I was selected to be able to come into this role with WeBank. And now, believe it or not, it's been 9 years. I never imagined that would be the case. And so now when I view things, it is not only about what would the corporation think in this matter, but it lets me sit down and have conversations with wonderful businesses like your business, like all the businesses that we interface with, to really understand what makes your company tick, you know, and that's clearly leadership. What inspires you to keep going? And, you know, that again has a lot to do with leadership, because a very dynamic leader will absolutely make the business run in such a way to serve community needs, corporate needs, regional needs, whatever those are. And so being here to now talk to women-owned businesses more than I talk to others, but still keeping a real lifeline going with the corporations for immediate feedback, pretty much on a weekly basis, making the delivery capability more visible.
What I think I can encapsulate from your success lessons thus far are: one, great leadership is going to bring in, embrace, and empower mind power. Have great minds on your teams, hire for the right people. I also think I heard you say have the agility, be nimble to quick serve for your customer base, as well as those circumstances that arise in your own business conduct. And all of us see that being true with COVID, because it hit everybody at the same time, COVID-19. And then the latter thing I think I heard you say is make sure you're aware of how your business services to all your populations, whether it's your clients, your employees, or your communities. And I think these are really great tips for women in terms of how they're building their business. Can you go in a little bit deeper in another area and talk about maybe how you overcame obstacles to achieve your own success that could be relevant to so many of our listeners? And by the way, what you're offering, I don't think is limited to helping women-owned businesses, although I know that's the mantle you work from right now. I think anybody who owns a business or is taking an entrepreneurial approach to their career can learn from what you've just said. So I have to guess that in sharing your own challenges or your own tips for personal professional success, it's going to be a message for everybody as well.
Yes, I think so. I agree with you. You know, I'm a firm believer in everyone having opportunity. And so I do tend to not tailor it just to our specific population. I mean that I want to see this great equality for everyone. And so I'll kind of continue with where I was going with that, which is that leadership, that agility, the things you just summarized for us, those really bring us to what the current issues are. And they have been caused in many cases by COVID-19, or I should say not caused, but highlighted by COVID-19. And it does relate a bit to my own personal experience and growth, because I too, back many years ago in the early 90s, had my own business. And I was very fortunate that it was a very successful business and thrived. And it was a consulting business, but it was a 2 to 10 people operation. So it's a little bit smaller than what I'm personally talking about right now. But one of the learnings was, and my background is in finance, it's in procurement. And so this was not as much an issue for me, but it also created a blind spot for me. And so I encourage all leaders to watch for the blind spot they might have, whatever it might be. In my case, because I do understand finance so well, I do understand procurement, both on the WBE and the corporation and the government side. It's sometimes I have to step back and remember that everyone doesn't understand that. And so one of the biggest challenges that are occurring right now for all businesses are around understanding your own finances, as well as cash flow. You have to have money coming in order for it to be going out. So the challenge that I've been, or a challenge, there's been many, a challenge I have been focusing on is discussions with different groups that would enable either government customers of our women or corporate customers of our women to receive their payments as promptly as possible. And where there is some need for an understanding of where a financial P&L would look right now, or a balance sheet, there be some leeway for this current way of doing business. And so for me, I would say first, understand your blind spot. For many people, it is about understanding their own finances. You need to have some degree of understanding, because you can run your business better with that. And so I think,
Pam, I want to lean in a little bit on that one as well, because first of all, you've got amazing corporate members in WeBank, and I understand why you're so proud of them and you're so caring for them as people, as well as the organizations they represent. As a matter of fact, I was on a real wave of like humanity. One of your corporate members, I don't have permission to mention their name, but she stepped up and said, not only are we going to pay people on time, but we're going to shorten the payment curve for the immediate time period to our smaller and our women-owned businesses to help them through that. Now, we hear a lot about corporations that can be negative or very news breaking, but we don't hear a lot of that in the news. And so I think that for our audience, maybe something that could be important that you're also gifting them with is the understanding that they can go back to customers if they're servicing them well pre-COVID, and ask them to help them with speeded up payment terms or change them for the immediate time, and then go back to, a different arrangement in the new normalcy. I don't think a lot of company owners are going to understand that this can be an opportunity for them if they're dealing with larger or mid-sized companies. What do you think about that?
I absolutely think that that's true. As a matter of fact, last week I was on 3 various days of discussions with groups of our corporate members. And that was a lot of the discussion we had, which was brainstorming, how do we impact the businesses that we care so much about? And that was the number one thing that people truly believed that they could go back and make a difference on. So I do believe it's an opportunity. I would encourage each and every person to reach out to their contact and see if that's a possibility for them. And again, as you said, continue the great service.
Yeah. Hey, Pam, if you're talking to people on the individual level and I asked you to give them maybe 4 hot tips for how to ensure their own professional success, what have you learned in your career that would be tip worthy?
Okay, let's think about that. The number one tip is very clear in my mind. It always has been. I am not the smartest person in the room, probably ever. And but what I think
debate that on many occasions, but I'll go with you.
Okay, but let me tell you why I appear to know what I'm doing. One, as I said, I'm a learner, right? So that's probably tip number 2, to always be a learner. But tip number 1 really is that no one person knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when you surround yourself with people who are good at things you are not good at, and you are a true team player, you will always have the best results of anyone you ever compete with. And so, if I look at where I've worked in the past, my leaders, who I respect so much, and many of them, that was kind of their mantra as well, to recognize that it's not any one person who is a hero, it's about a team. And so the number 1 tip I would always give everyone is you will always be more successful if you are inclusive, if you recognize the strengths of other people. You do not need to take other people's ideas. Building on what a group of people bring together will always be the best solution. So that one's very clearly my number 1. My number 2 is to listen. I do talk a lot, so you sometimes can't tell that I'm listening, but I try to keep that under control. From a listening perspective, I think that often in professional careers, the minute someone hears something that they don't 100% agree with, or they know they disagree with it, they cut off their hearing process and they don't continue to listen to what's said. I can tell you that even the person that I would consider to be least likely that I would take any advice from, if I sit and listen to an entire conversation, there will be some nugget of information, some viewpoint listed there that will end up being beneficial or growth for me, for my colleagues, for my business, for women-owned businesses. And so the first 2 are really clear to me. Know you're not the smartest person. Surround yourself with others who can absolutely be great partners with you, and listen to others. Those come right away. I think the third one that isn't really meant to be third, but always treat people with respect. Mm-hmm. There was once a book that all I ever needed to know I learned in kindergarten. I would modify it slightly to say that anything I ever needed to know I learned from my mom and dad. I've been very blessed to have been raised with 2 parents who always respected every person who was around them, who recognized the value in others, who taught us to respect everyone. And from that, I think it gave me the foundation that I needed in order to know how to successfully run a business, to be a team player in a corporation, and to be a leader at WeBank, where I'm a team member as well.
Well, Pam, when you talked about listening, I think so often, and perchance, maybe understandably so during this time, we're so busy as business leaders or professionals listening to our own needs that we're not seeing and hearing our solutions. And I think that WeBank does an amazing job of servicing each of your constituents in such an incredible way. Just to be sure everybody understands the value that WeBank brings and the mission WeBank is on. Can you talk a little bit about that? Now, I know that's like talking about your baby, but give us the highlights of it and let us know how to learn more about WeBank. Where do we go to learn more than you tell us today?
Sure. Thanks, Janice. I appreciate that opportunity, and thank you for all you do serving on my board. You make a world of difference. So thank you very much for that. The organization, if you need to find out anything about it, you can either call our office in DC, and we have somebody answering the phone all the time, is a little bit of a punch button sort of thing, but it'll get you to the right person. You can go to our website at webank.org. So that's WBENC.org. And additionally, to understand our mission, it's really about the success of women-owned businesses. So we want to be known as the #1 organization to support the development of women-owned businesses. We also want to make sure that for corporate America and for the government, we are the organization they come to validate that you are a woman-owned business, to identify you for opportunity, and to discuss opportunities with you. So if I had to put it in a nutshell, that is what I would say our mission and our purpose and our vision is about. Again, we certify, but there's a lot of focus on opportunities. If you think of us almost like a clearinghouse where corporations know this is the place I can find women-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses know if I want to be found, I can become part of this WeBank community. That's really our role. It's to understand the women-owned businesses that are structured in such a way to deliver the best product and service, that they're agile, that they can pivot, that they can work well in the corporate or government environment. And so everything we do is around ensuring some of that engagement, that opportunity, that networking occurs, making sure we're providing resources, not only at WeBank nationally, but across our 14 regional partners. And those activities of certifying, providing the opportunities, making sure resources are available, and engaging people, that's what we're all about. So if you take that word core, that's us.
Pam, I thank you for that, because some of our audience may not understand just the power of WeBank. And I have to say, you mentioned I serve on your board. I have to say that your meetings are all driven around bringing value to these women business owners. And it's a community that does have enough initiatives and programs that specifically target businesses for where they are in their growth and how they help solution forward. Certainly procurement opportunities occur at your events, and I understand WeBank is managing to do that virtually coming up, as well as should we get back to our new normalcy with more face-to-face. So I would encourage anybody who's listening right now, please go to webank.org and learn the opportunity you have. If you've not signed up, if you've not become a registered WeBank business owner, please make sure that you get all of your stuff together so that you can be vetted. It's a very serious vetting process. It's also a very fair one. And then the other thing that I want to say about your work at WeBank, Pam, is that your members know each other. I've met some of my best friends through the many years that I participated in WeBank, and I count you amongst them.
Absolutely.
But I mean, people I see on a day-to-day basis, or people I see just when I go to the events or participate in initiatives. It's so warm. Women around the world know about WeBank. Some of your women-owned businesses, such as mine, are doing business across the globe. So it's one of the most uniquely satisfying and rewarding opportunities to come together. And by the way, Pam, we didn't talk much about the men who love the women in business. But you have very strong male participation in this organization. So men who want to find out how to support women-owned businesses, whether it's to work with them or through them, have great opportunity at WeBank as well. Am I correct on that?
You sure are. I think that one of the unique things about having an organization that the name starts with women's, so we're the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. If you don't know who we are, you make the immediate assumption that we're a group of women. And we certainly are a great group of women. We have powerhouse women-led, women-owned businesses. And we have a lot of great women who work in the corporate arena who are supporters and involved with us. But 40 to 50% of the people who participate in our organization, especially from the corporate side, those are males. And so from that perspective, we do have a push on what we call our he's for she's. And it really is about recognizing those men who are reaching to say, and not in an inappropriate way, but reaching to say that we want to help you to be successful in how you do business with our company. And these people truly care about inclusion of women-owned businesses within the supply chain. They care about developing women into an understanding of what the business actually does if they don't understand every nuance of what might happen on a pipeline. Really,
you know, Pam, I know we step over each other because we're not there together, right?
right.
but we talk as though we are, right? I
Yeah.
gotta say, some of the most incredible people in corporations don't just join WeBank or become their representatives of their company at WeBank because of their title. They do it because they love the relationships that occur from it, and they enjoy promoting their companies in ways that otherwise might not happen for women business owners. I just can't. I mean, I leave each event or each meeting, even virtually, just I not often am caught short of words.
Mm-hmm.
I usually leave in tears or laughing or something because of the energy and the spirit that you are leading with at WeBank. And I just have to thank you. Is there anything else you want to talk about right now that can help our audience in terms of not just getting through COVID? You know, on my mirror, I have in red lipstick, profitably together through this. And we're looking at not just surviving COVID-19, but prospering, learning, innovating, and togetherness. You know, those are the kinds of things I'm hearing. Is there anything you want to share that helps anybody listening, not just your WeBank community, but your future WeBank community?
Our future
Just inspire us.
No, I would just say I think you've done a great job, Janice, of really asking questions that cause us to address, you know, kind of like when we're sitting around just talking in general about what is needed for success for businesses. WeBank's mantra before we went into COVID-19 was join forces, succeed together. And coming out of COVID-19 and when we're back to work, it's the exact same thing, join forces to succeed together. I think that, again, it goes back to one of my number one beliefs, which is the more people who are together sharing their ideas, sharing what works in the business world, sharing how to advance your business, to grow your business, to succeed as a leader, to succeed in your community, to help your community succeed. All those things are done better when we do those together. And so again, Janice, I thank you so much for having me on here. Love talking with you, and you are a tremendous leader. And I would encourage everyone to read your book. I would encourage everyone to listen to you speak when they have the opportunity. Janice is a tremendous example of someone who has learned so much, who continues to learn every day, and who shares what she knows with others. And that, to me, is one of the best views of leadership that I can ever see.
Well, Pam, you certainly enlightened us. So thank you. Thank you for that shout out. More importantly, thank you for the shout out to our audience. You've talked to us today about making sure that as leaders, we bring mind power to our organizations. We shouldn't, not only are we often not the smartest person in the room, but we shouldn't be the smartest person in the room. We should be embracing bringing in talent who can help lead and guide us toward better solutions. You also talked about the power of listening. And, you know, yesterday, my daughter said something to me that really touched me. She said, "Mom, I truly hope that in the middle of everybody's fear and everybody's solutioning toward getting out of this, we don't lose the opportunity to really appreciate," and she used the word appreciate this moment in history we're all sharing. For the first time in history, we are all focused on the same problem at the same time, and we're doing it out loud with the advantage and the disadvantages of technology. Her prayer was that we would all find quiet time to really appreciate where we are in this moment so that we can leave it knowing who we are better. And Pam, the work that you do certainly exemplifies what Kay is talking about. As you mentioned, so much of your initiatives pre-COVID are very important now that we're in it, and will certainly sustain and grow us forward post-COVID. I want to shout out all our WeBank membership, whether you be client or woman-owned enterprise. I know you share my love for Pam, and all of you future WeBankers, remember to go to webank.org and learn how you can benefit, share, and contribute to this effort. You know, they say that most communities, women are the backbone. I know we're the hips after giving childbirth, but we're the backbone to so many of our communities. So I'm sharing in Pam's appreciation and thanks to everybody who's already a part of our organization, and reaching out to all of those who think you can learn more, who can get into some of our programs to do this. Pam, it's been such a joy to talk with you. I look forward to doing it again soon, girl. And hey, look, this is just a conversation with a lot of love from my home to your heart. Thanks, Pam.
Okay, thinking about you and your family.